Everyone. Hello, thank you so much for being here. My name is Noor Ibrahim and I am part of the VLab team, and we are so excited that you're here today. Today, we are honored to welcome a very special speaker. Amulya Vishwanath is here with us from NVIDIA. Amulya is the head of developer engagement strategy at NVIDIA, and she is here to talk to us all about AI, what is happening there, what are the future trends, what to look out for, and the tools that we can use to actually make our lives easier. So without further ado, I would love to give the mic to Amulya to take it away.
Thank you, Noor. Hi, everyone. How are you all doing? Yes? Good. I didn't hear anything from this side. Okay, great. And from there? Good. Okay, and here? Awesome. Okay, awesome, awesome. All right, nice to meet you all. I'm so happy that I made it here in person. This is my first time in Cairo, and I'm really excited to meet the VLabs team and the extended community here. My name is Amulya Vishwanath. I'm from NVIDIA Corporation. So I've been with NVIDIA close to 5 years. Prior to that, I used to work at Intel. I'll talk a little bit more about how I got into the AI side of things, because I have one of the attendees here today who's curious about it. But before that, we're going to talk about NVIDIA in general. Anybody heard of this company before? Yes, yes, yes. I mean, I want like a confident hand, like, being raised. Yeah, like the ones in Teams, the way they show it. Okay, awesome. So tell me a little bit more. What do you know about NVIDIA? How I want to learn more. Yes. Gaming, games, yes. And who's next? Come on. Sorry. Yes. Graphics cards. Yes, that's right. And what else? Yes. GPUs and deep learning? Software for deep learning. Awesome. Okay. What else have you heard of NVIDIA? NVIDIA. Yes. Chip systems. Did I gather it right? Chips. Okay, awesome. Well, I was hoping someone would say Chat GPT. Yes, that's right. So the engine behind the most viral Chat GPT is actually NVIDIA's, a bunch of chips. So that's NVIDIA in a nutshell. I think a lot of you guys already got it right. So we've been in gaming. We are also into multiple professional markets, including AI deep learning, powering many industries. We are also heavily invested on the software stack side of things. So we invest a lot in open source and also a lot of the, data side of things, models, frameworks. So we partner with TensorFlow, PyTorch, MXNet, all of those folks. And also we work with a lot of the, known names in the research side of things. And, just in general, talk about any industry. We work with, like, for instance, Aramco, we work with Vallejo, and so on. So I'm going to show a very quick video about NVIDIA, just, so we are all on the same page in terms of some of the cool use cases that we power. And then we're going to jump back into the emerging trends and go from there. Does that sound good? Yes? Yes. Okay, awesome. Because I'm just fearing that, it's an afternoon session. So hopefully this can be an interactive one. So, let's, talk about it. Let's be interactive. If you're falling asleep, just raise your hand and I'll ask you questions. So let's get started. Yeah? Okay.
Transforming text into creative discovery. Movement into animation. And direction into action. I am a healer, exploring the building blocks that make us unique. Modeling new threats before they happen. and searching for the cures to keep them at bay. I am a visionary, generating new medical miracles. And giving us a new perspective on our sun to keep us safe here on Earth. I am a navigator, discovering a unique moment in a sea of content.
We are announcing the next generation.
In the perfect setting for any story. I am a creator, building 3D experiences from snapshots and adding new levels of reality to our virtual selves. I am a helper, bringing brainstorms to life. Sharing the wisdom of a million programmers and turning ideas into virtual worlds.
Build Northern Forest.
I even helped write the script. Breathe life into the words and compose the melody. I am AI, brought to life by NVIDIA, deep learning, and brilliant minds everywhere.
All right, that was my talk, actually. Thank you for coming. No, seriously. Those were all the emerging trends you had to know, right? You all enjoy it? Did you get a glimpse of what we do and some of the cool use cases that are very relevant to each one of you? Did anything specific stand out? Couple of hand raise, yes? Yes, what stood out to you?
Variations of COVID-19. That was a surprise because AI and generative AI was not that trending yet. I don't know if yeah, the bigger institutions have reached out to you, but that was a surprise.
So we worked with a lot of data scientists and gamers to fold our compute to help with modeling the rapid variants of the COVID-19 virus. So you can learn more about it. You can look up NVIDIA, healthcare news in general. But that I thought was pretty cool, where you could fold compute and leverage it for a cause that was affecting pretty much everybody's life a few years ago, right? So anything else that stood out? Yes.
I think it's brilliant and amazing, but the amount of threat AI puts on the world is really terrifying. And how can you guarantee that people will not use it to do the opposite, instead of finding the cure, actually finding the disease? Yani, this is very terrifying. Beside the fact that maybe in 5 years, my kids will not have jobs to do, yani, that's less terrifying than actually creating a number of diseases.
Can I ask, what is your background, what your name? Sorry, I missed it.
I work at AUC as the marketing director for the graduate programs at the School of Business. My whole year I've been working in marketing and business development, sometimes budgeting and planning. Background study is computer science and business.
Got it. So, well, the thing is that, there's always, this conscious thinking that, if we're trying to do something that could go in different ways, right? It could go wrong, it could go right, it could go super right, as people use the keyword super. So I'm an optimist. So the way I think of it is that, there's always, technology that's going to come in, right? Back when I gave this example, just a couple of hours ago while chatting with Noor and team, which is when we had the traditional modes of transport, for instance, right, like long, long ago, and we were thinking about building public transportation, for instance, right, buses and so on, there was obviously, a little bit of hesitance, right? So you're going to probably take away the jobs of certain people and, take away the existing means. But then public transportation eased a lot of things, right? Now people were able to go in, groups to from point A to point B, but also there was a job for a driver. There was a job for someone who is in the ticketing counter. There's a job for a person who wants to clean a bus, for instance, if you're talking about public transport. And there is an entity like maybe, the transportation department and so on. So there are so many more jobs that it created. So really, I think it's more so reorienting some of the functions. It's not necessarily, shutting it all down and, there are no jobs and so on. I really think that, it's reorienting our skills. And I'll talk a little bit more about how, for instance, with generative AI, interdisciplinary experience is going to be more and more important. So it's not just that, there are going to be jobs for like engineers and non-engineers have to, like worry about things and so on, because the future of these technologies are going to be important because contributions need to come not just from the engineers, it has to be from the whole society. The more we, build it openly and the more we build it together across different interdisciplinary experiences and knowledge that we have, I think that's really when we're going to make, give a good outcome or give a good input in and get great outcomes for the society. So again, acknowledging that, but again, it's all dependent on us, how we make use of it. So there are always going to be certain bad elements everywhere. But I really think that, there's so much more positive and, the technology advancements that are happening are going to be very positively impacting many people, like everybody, especially with productivity as a focus. I hope I was able to address your question. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. So like I said, there are many use cases that NVIDIA's technology covers, but today I'm not going to be focused specifically on what we do and what NVIDIA does, but I just wanted to touch upon a few different application areas. And how many of you have gotten a chance to try ChatGPT? About 50% in the room, is that right? Yes. Whoa. Sorry? It's locked. It's locked. Okay. What about Bard? Did anyone get to try Bard? Yes. Okay. Bard. All right. So what did y'all think about it? What did you use it for? You want to say something? Sorry? Content generation. What did you use it for? Oh, sorry, I missed. Your name, sorry?
Mohammed.
And what do you do?
I am a managing director for a company in the technology as well. So I use it for generation of posts for LinkedIn, for Facebook, for also for email generation or replies. Sometimes we use it in coding as well to generate some code and help us in navigating throughout codes. And so this is mainly what we do. But I recently started to use Bard, but it's not the same yet, like ChatGPT.
Right.
Yeah.
The good thing is that it's open for everyone. So yeah, thank you. So there's just so much happening, right? So as you mentioned, content generation is one of the key areas. He's also using it for social media posts and so on. And there are certain smart generative AI models that can help you with code generation, for instance, like GitHub Copilot. How many of you have used it or heard of it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So well, hopefully after this session, you'll get to, talk a lot more about some of the cool things we're going to talk about. And if anything, at least it's a dinner table conversation, that you could have with your friends or family in general. So I want to talk a little bit about, the background I come from, because I had somebody from the audience, ask me about it. So let's get started. And yes, I did organize my desktop. I had to, because you guys don't want to see all the screenshots and everything else that I have, because anything exciting that I find these days, especially with generative AI, I'm like, oh yes, I want to read about this. I want to bookmark this and so on. So there's just so much that, like I was trying to process so that I could, share that with you. That, oh my God. So it's all under a folder called noise, if that helps. So all right, so I'm Amulya Vishwanath, like I said, and I've been with NVIDIA for close to 5 years now. Prior to NVIDIA, I used to work at Intel. This is just my quick journey. So I started out with my undergrad in electronics and communication engineering, and I did my master's from University of Minnesota Twin Cities in the US. I did my master's in electrical engineering, and one of my undergrad projects in India, when I worked in India, was around image compression and decompression, using artificial neural networks. Back then, I had a random conversation with one of my professors, and I told him, hey, I see that, there's so many projects. How many of you are from CS or EC background here? Okay, so how many of you have heard of microcontrollers, microprocessors? Right? So back then, it was just the hot thing, right? So long ago, okay? I mean, like, I'm not revealing my age and all that, but anyway, so long ago, that used to be, very important, and, a lot of applications used to be developed with microcontrollers and microprocessors. So for my capstone project, one of my friends were recommending, let's build a traffic monitoring system, and so on. I was like, everybody is doing that. Can we do something different? And in this random conversation with my professor, I said, I'm not a fan of microcontrollers. Give me some other ideas. What are some trending things that I need to know of? And at his desk, he had a printout of our artificial neural networks publication. He's a telecom professor. He still continues to teach in India. And he handed me this research paper and said, why don't you go check out this paper and tell me what you think? So it was about, image compression and decompression of, like implementing image decompression, compression and decompression using FPGAs. Has anyone heard of FPGAs here? Yeah, right? Okay, so what do you think about FPGAs versus GPUs? General purpose versus application specific, right?
Yeah, I've heard a bit about them and how VHDL is used to program FPGAs,
Right.
and they are used in space applications where you need
A
super
lot in
fast
defense and
computers.
space applications.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. So that we only had access to Xilinx FPGAs back then in our labs, very limited hardware access. So obviously I had to score pretty decently for me to graduate. So I decided to work on this project leveraging MATLAB and Xilinx FPGAs. So it was a lot of learning to do. One, mainly because we did not have an elective at our university back then to learn about artificial neural networks. I also was sharing a laptop with my brother. So you know what happens when you have a brother and you have to share a laptop? I mean, any gadget, right? I mean, it's probably like 10% to 90% of the time, right? So with all of that haggling, I finally was able to learn a few things over Google, right? Google search, and working with a couple of professors who were, looking into their PhD research and so on. And I was able to learn a lot of the concepts on the artificial neural network side. So it's a very hacky way that I learned. And but when I learned that, and I started looking at, how opportunities were opening up for me, I just made my, career growth align with that. So when I had that random conversation with my professor, he's like, this is going to be a big thing in 10 years, is literally what he told. And it literally became the biggest thing, and people were hiring left, right, and center around AI. And I went from being a hardware engineer to getting hired by for instance, Intel, to run their AI product marketing team. So I'm happy to talk more about the different functions and other functions, offline if you're interested. So that's how I took my engineering background. I had a very, ready to learn hacky, mentality. So I applied that every single time. And I asked for what I was interested in. And I asked for an opportunity from people, and, they took a chance on me. So I went from being the traditional, hardware engineer to moving into AI product marketing side. And then I moved into developer relations. So again, I used to work at Intel, and then now I work at NVIDIA. And really, there are many different ways. You don't need a specific degree to get into the AI side of things. You could be a marketing manager, or you could be a hardware engineer migrating to this. There's always a path, and these paths are open. Green light. So, anybody and everybody can get on this journey, again, see how it aligns with you. Hopefully today's certain ideas can resonate in different ways with you, that some of you might come up with different, products, maybe related to generative AI or something else, and join V Labs, and hopefully we get to meet again, right? So, all right, that's it about me. And let's switch gears here. So we hear a lot about emerging trends, and as we speak, there's just so much more advancement happening across different technologies. Anybody wants to talk a little bit about something that's exciting and advancing? Any technology that excites you? Yes. 3D printing of buildings. 2D to 3D implementing. Okay, I would love to see that happen soon, because I don't think I can afford a house in California, and having these 3D printed homes would be awesome. So yes, it is happening. It just needs to get into the boundary of California. That's the only thing. So yes, awesome. So 3D printing, what else? Yes.
Okay, so I'm just talking about the metaverse and how this is probably the new platform, and whether we're all going to be an avatar doing businesses and meetings in the metaverse with our fashionable clothes, apparently from all these different brands, and buying NFTPs. And, so this is, I guess, was like also another thing that everyone is talking about, which is the metaverse and what it
Yes.
enables. Yeah, thank you.
3D worlds, metaverse. Yes, absolutely. All right, what else is exciting here? Yes, there.
The digital twin, talking about the digital twin.
Digital twin, yes.
All aspects, not only in the aspects of the human digital twin, but digital twin in general.
Definitely. So on that note, so NVIDIA is building a digital twin of our very own Earth. Have you heard of it? Anybody heard of it? Yes, no? So we are trying to build a digital twin of the Earth, and I think it should be ready by, I think, sometime end of next year, or maybe 2025. So it uses a lot of the metaverse tools as well, and we're building something called as ForecastNet. Has anyone heard of these things? I just want to make sure I break it down even further. So don't hesitate to tell me that. Yeah, okay, no worries. All right, so yeah, so do check it out. It's called Earth 2. So our intention with that is to, predict weather changes and climatic changes in general much faster than what our current systems can do. So based on the existing research that's ongoing, we are about 45,000 times faster in climate predictions, but we have not released it fully public yet. So stay tuned for that. It's probably sometime around end of 2024 or 2025. So yes, digital twins is already a hot thing. A lot of companies are looking at it. 3D printing, yes. So that's awesome. Metaverse tools in general, building 3D worlds, building 3D world experiences. They're all going to be super important. Anything else that stood out? Yes.
Anything related to protein generation or protein 3D structure. Like we have like decades where we were just relying on X-ray crystallography, and now we can just generate 3D structure for proteins by just AI in few seconds, which is like massive and amazing. And even generating new proteins that are not in nature or even synthesized in labs, we generated just using AI. And then you get to test them and see that they are effective or not. But the capability itself is actually amazing. Hosna.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So yes, so one of the things that are important to note is that, healthcare itself has many, many applications, including like, protein modeling, gene, sequencing, and so on. And all of this, while in the front, it looks simple that, well, these doctors did so and so, these researchers did so and so. It does involve a lot of, compute that goes into the research that they do. And we've gone from something that took like, years to even months of research to now weeks to days, again, depending on the application. So thank you so much for these different perspectives. So really emerging opportunities, again, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of, like specific, things. Again, we could talk about it all day. Like we could talk about like federated learning. We could talk about, how things are changing with climate science, for instance, and how AI is getting infused in there. So at a high level, I bucket them into these 5 groups. So you'll see that a lot of the industries are now absorbing AI. Back then, we were thinking about, does it make sense to take in AI or not into an existing at a point? It's not about if or, like, should we or shouldn't we? It's about when should we? And I think the time is now, or like hopefully sometime soon, right? That's how a lot of companies are looking at it. So the first bucket, like the way I look at it is really around, industries and research. So there's just so much happening around these public-private partnerships and modernizing the tools and systems that these entities are using to build models for atmospheric science or earth science or something related to architecture and so on. So the second thing is applied science across different nations. And, this could be like advanced research related to healthcare, or this could be advanced research related to, crop disease detection across a specific country or something on those lines. So there's just so much more happening, especially around computer vision, plugging into, these applied AI use cases. The third one, which is what I'm going to talk a lot more about in today's session, about productivity AI for all. Think of this as generative AI and just in general, like the productivity that it's adding to different use cases. So this might be like mixing up some music, creating some new content. And, as one of our friends mentioned here, it's all about, simplification of certain things, speeding up certain things, and so on. And the fourth bucket is really about simplified services. These are the B2C experiences that you might be building, right? For instance, Chat GPT, you could say that, it falls in bucket 3 and 4, but you could say like these robots that could come and deliver you a food, again, these are just, some examples that I'm taking. And then the fifth one, one of you mentioned, which is around metaverse, which is building 3D worlds and building or simulated environments where now you don't need a lot of resources to, simulate certain scenarios where your robots need to operate or where your employees need to operate in a secure way. Like a gas corporation where entities need to be safe and operate in a, secure way. Handling certain, like explosive materials, for instance, handling the security around it and so on. So the technology that sits across all of these different buckets could range from like generative AI to just in general, the traditional computer vision, for instance. It could also infuse a lot of the natural language processing side of things. It could just involve different industries and so on. So this focus, I'm going to be looking at the one in the middle, which is productivity. So what do you think about generative AI? What's generative AI? Oh, okay. Did I already bore you guys? Like, okay.
I think it's a leap forward in AI in general, because usually we tend to have an AI that will just give us things that it already knows before. But generative is AI is like adding more into what we know and what we can expect. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and it came earlier than we thought it would be here. So I'm Azazi, yeah, software engineer.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you. And you're right. So we didn't really expect it to happen this fast, or for people to really like, just look at chat. Wait, what is it? I gotta try. Do you all know how many users ChatGPT got in the first week? Yes. 1 million users? First 5 days? Okay. Any other answers? 100 million, yes, and that's in the first 5 days, in fact. So it happens to be one of the most viral B2C product, let's say, or B2C entity, even in comparison to Instagram, which, how many of you use Instagram? Yeah, so in comparison to Instagram as well. So I think technology is taking different turns, and it's rapidly advancing that I don't even think that, like the moment we blink our eyes, we see new things, getting announced. And every time I refresh, I'm just taking an example, LinkedIn, my LinkedIn feed, I see new things and I'm like, wait, I got to learn about this. And then I go somewhere else, I go learn about that. And it's like never ending. So my goal, just simplify some of the things around generative AI. And if you want to learn more about generative AI, I can point out to specific. I also have a virtual webinar later today where I'll dive a bit more deeper on these. But I'm going to skip this because you already know about NVIDIA by this time, since you got to watch something for 3 minutes, right? So, like our CEO has listed as one of the top, most influential CEOs in the world. And we power over 40,000 companies, building AI-based applications. We support over 13,000 startups with our technology support program called Inception. And we have over 4 million developers who are building some really cool applications and services leveraging our technology. Across different areas, whether it's robotics, machine learning in general, traditional computer vision, medical imaging, gene sequencing, digital twins that one of you mentioned, and so on. So today's focus is going to be a little more engaging. It's going to be focused around generative AI. We're going to talk about some of the different ways and some ideas that we could look into leveraging generative AI. So we'll go from the basics of generative AI to what are some key investments that are being driven here, and like what are some key applications and demos that hopefully might interest you. And following to that, we'll talk a little bit about the guardrails being set for such applications, and I'll take any open questions from there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Does anybody know what is one of the primary problems that we were trying to solve with artificial intelligence in general? In general, AI, when like AI started becoming like a thing, and people wanted to solve something, right? Like you need to solve something. You can't just build technology. So what do you think it was when we started out? When I say we, like in general, the researchers and the whole searching, planning. Okay, searching and planning. What else?
um, it basically it goes off script, or it does something that it's not intended to do.
I think that's a good point, and I think it's a problem that's still being solved, which is we have to make sure we have control. But yes, you're right in a way that we are looking at, or we did start looking at search and planning. But one of the most fundamental thing we started looking at is classification. As simple as, is this a cat or a dog? Is this like a raccoon or a dog, for instance, and so on. That was one of the preliminary problem that, a lot of entities were trying to solve. And from there on, we went into looking at all these other different algorithms and, applying it to different industries. It could be with looking at, like the cancer reports of patients and identifying, what could be the future diagnosis of certain patients and so on. So there are a lot of applications that trickled in from those very simple things that they were trying to solve originally. So I've just put like a timeline of things again, credit goes to the online source that has this, but I thought this would be super helpful. So as we start thinking about generative AI, obviously, it's not a new thing that just happened overnight sometime in November of 2022. This has been ongoing for a really long time. And, when you think about generative AI, think of it as a part of just in general, the artificial intelligence field in general. So generative AI is actually multidimensional. So you could think of it as generating content, context. It could be avatars, it could be music, voices, different dialects, and so on. So what I want to emphasize here is that, generative AI can mean a lot of these things applying to different areas. But I do want you to know that all of the developments that have happened so far or are happening have not reached their fullest potential yet. Any thoughts, questions so far?
How will we recognize when it reaches its full potential, and how will that impact its current uses and its future uses?
How will we realize that it reaches its full potential? It's a great question, because I don't think any of these systems will reach their fullest potential in one go. It's always going to be an iterative process, because these models, it's kind of like, think of it like a hungry child. I don't know what other analogy to use, right? Because you're going to be hungry. You have to, like feed it with the right data, right? And, as you feed it with the right data, it's a healthy model, and outcome that you want. But at the same time, the application, if you're serving application A at this point, you'll always want to, like layer it with more and more services or capabilities, for instance. So that means that, you'll need to pour in never like the fullest potential. But what I really meant to say is that we don't have it all figured out. When I say we, I'm not talking about NVIDIA. In general, the whole community is figuring out a lot of these things. So what you might see is a list of, I don't know, like 11 of it in here might multiply into 22 or 200, right? 1 year from now. So the fullest potential in the sense that what are some other fields that generative AI can fit in, and what are some other ways that, developers and just in general, like users, general users like us can leverage, this technology and what it has to offer to us. So feel free to take pictures of any of these slides. Again, this is just a knowledge sharing sync. And, like we're having a conversation here. I'm telling and sharing what I know about this, and happy to learn more from you as well. But I just want to make sure, like this is not like a, like a press event. So let's just get that out of the way. So when we talk about productivity and, like we mentioned that, there are different functions that take in different use cases. For instance, with design, you might want to look into brainstorming. A lot of the marketing functions might want to look at, hey, like how can I, even fix my simple grammar, for instance, or how can I generate posts faster and so on. Okay. So, there are so many different ways and different use cases. And this is just a snapshot. Again, like I said, 1 year from now, when we talk, this is going to multiply. So, like these are some things to watch out for. There are many tools that people are leveraging today. There are many open source projects. So I'm going to quickly jump into some of these things in here. So generative AI in general, there are many private and public models. So this is just like a high level, summarization of some of the key companies and what they started with long ago. So you'll see that the ones outlined in blue are the private models, and the ones outlined in black are the public models or the open source models. Well, I might need to speed up a little bit, but if you have a few questions, feel free to ask in the Q&A time, and like, or we could have offline chats. Do I have about 20? Okay, so 20. So I might run through a few slides, but like really what's important to note is that some of the models are private and some of the models are public. And you'll start seeing that ChatGPT, for instance, the OpenAI entity went from being a private model to like an open source model. So the good thing about this is building in public helps them also to receive feedback from many entities. And this is really, I think, helpful in a lot of ways, because it's rather better to build in public if you're building something that's more B2C to the millions. And you'll see some of the companies, shifting their strategies, going from private to public, public to private, and so on. So generative AI involves two main focus areas, that is around image synthesis and language modeling. We already talked about the virality, so I'm going to skip this aspect here. So anybody heard of foundation models before? Foundation models? Foundation. It's as simple as that. Foundation model, yeah. So for generative models, generative AI models, one of the most trending foundational models is a transformer. So I'll tell you a few keywords that you need to remember, during this session. So transformers are the, absolute basic Gen AI, entity that you need to remember. And this is kind of, how it works. So, we went from thinking about just image or just language to now we're talking about multimodal language modeling, for instance. So text, it could be images, it could be speech, 3D artifact, for instance, that you could plug into a foundational model, such as a transformer. So you train it, and then you can adapt it to different applications. So it could be giving you a Q&A experience, for instance, which is what you do at GPT, or you could measure sentiments within, like a Twitter platform, for instance, measure, what is getting positive sentiment versus. So like I mentioned, we're seeing a lot of work being put into, these are some of our partners who are working on some of these technologies, image synthesis and language modeling. And this is evolution in terms of how language modeling has evolved, especially with OpenAI GPT in general. So, feel free to take a picture of this, but, really remember that, the most of the investments today happening around image synthesis and language. And, this is going to expand even more. I'll show you some of the detailed use cases in. So if you're wondering, what are we doing and how is NVIDIA's infrastructure plugging into some of the relevant large language models in and around this area. So we have an Arabic NLP model called Noor that was released by TII. And, it uses about 10 billion parameters and about 128 NVIDIA GPUs in general. So you can learn more about it, look it up, Noor, the Arabic NLP model. And there is Hugging Face. How many of you have heard of Hugging Face here? Yes, yes. Okay. So Hugging Face partnered with over thousands of researchers across the globe and put together a multilingual language model. So remember, we started with talking about generative AI, what the technology is. We start talking about foundational models that are required to implement these Gen AI, experiences or systems in general. And one of the important, foundational models that you need to remember is a transformer. And, there are lots of work that's happening on the public side and private side. And one of the open source projects is the Bloom project. And the Bloom project also utilizes over 300 GPUs from NVIDIA. And we also have have G42 company building the largest Arabic GPT model, which I believe is at about 13 billion parameters today. Any other cool facts that you guys know that, I haven't figured out yet? I would love to learn from you guys. But if you learn something, do drop me a note. I'll share my email later on. But these were some of the key things that, I've been involved in. So I thought, this might interest all you folks. So I'll quickly skip through these investments in here. So you'll see the top investors, which is from Tiger Global 500, Global, Bloomberg Beta, Sequoia, and so on. And they're investing in some of these, generative AI startups. And there's a lot of investors looking at Gen AI startups. And I think, these local ecosystems need to start thinking about how do you want to leverage what you have today with your ecosystem? Like, for instance, right here in Cairo, and build the next cool generative AI app or service or, your research model for. So a lot of the universities are also heavily investing in building their own language models to help local researchers and companies leverage it, especially specific to some of the, non-English languages, right? So for instance, in India, so I'm originally from India, so we have many efforts going on to have regional languages, specific language models, very similar to here that you see, Arabic models as well. So there's just going to be a lot more investments coming in from universities and governments as well. But remember that the startup scene is pretty hot as well. So I'll quickly jump through these slides in the interest of time. Take a picture if you would like to. I'll give it a few seconds. Got it all captured. So here you'll see that the recent investments going into the not so popular, but newbie startups. But look at the different use cases: customer support, marketing, creative organizations. I mean, who would have known that, AI and creative organizations would get in so much of investments right away, right? So the rate at which these, technologies and the rate at which these innovations are happening, even with startups, is just incredible. So let your friends know, let yourself know, whoever it is. I think this is going to be pretty hard. But again, remember, you have to build with intention. You don't want to build because of a specific hype. And this side, you'll see all the top startups that have gotten quite a bit of funding, and they have certain open models, open source models, and certain private models. So I'm going to quickly jump through some of the application areas. I'll share the link with this. You can look up dealroom.co and you'll see all of the different use cases and the type of startups that are coming up in these. So there's legal, there's synthetic data, there's so much happening around gaming and design in general. There's also so much around image generation, which I'll show you in the next slides. This slide doesn't do justice. I just wanted to show that there's just so much happening. Look up dealroom.co and you'll find more information about the different startups and what they're doing. Jumping into some of the application area side of things. So I'm sure most of you, I think I saw you've tried to use ChatGPT or have seen how ChatGPT works. So here is how context and understanding works. So basically, when you ask ChatGPT something, right, like a Gen AI consumer-facing application, something, you should know this, that it doesn't give you the exact right answer. That is not the intention. The intention is to assist you with giving a possible relevant answer. So as the models get sharper, they might be able to, narrow down and be more pithy in the way that, here are 3 ways you can run your next social post under 10 words or whatever that is. But that said, it doesn't give you one exact solution. It's more so helping you, assisting you with, making the most out of one of the solutions that resonates with you. So as you can see here, so there is context and understanding. So if we're talking about baking a pie, the model is able to tell you, what are the pros and cons. Well, it may not all be pros and cons that are relevant today and right now, because some of these models were trained up and remember that some of these models have different cadence of getting updated. So that is one thing you need to pay attention to. This is just another example. So, and I think in the previous session, I had someone mention about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is going to be really, really important. So the way you have these language models, right? Talked about 2 important. So within language modeling, what you want to do is, especially, you want to, have prompt engineering that is intelligent, right? Because it's like, if I ask you a question, what is ABCD? What would be the answer, right? Like, you could be like, well, maybe alphabets, right? That could be the ChatGPT's answer. But if you tell them, if you ask the system, how many characters are there in, English, for instance, then it'll give you a more specific answer. So it depends on the quality of the question you ask to get the quality or the right quality of the answer out. And again, it's not the only solution. It's just one of the solutions. And that's why software like ChatGPT gives you the regenerate option. So you're telling, hey, I want to hear a little bit different or a little bit more. So you regenerate responses accordingly. So I asked ChatGPT basically to give me 5 ideas to use their DALL-E product. How many of you have used DALL-E here? Yeah, so DALL-E. Yes, so that is the image side. So OpenAI also has DALL-E. Basically, I went to ChatGPT and I asked it to give me ideas to use as prompts. I didn't want to, generate it myself. And like I said, I'm a non-English speaker. I manage English somehow, but these are tools like Grammarly, but also, it can be tools like these. That can give you certain ideas. And again, obviously, you don't want to put your proprietary, company code and all of that, right, in the software. But I'm just giving a simple example here. So creativity, it's all up to you, how you want to use it and so on. So these are just, certain prompts I used. And then I went into DALL-E, UI, and I plugged in the first one that you see, a Victorian era castle built out of musical instruments. And what you see here are the 4 images that were generated from DALL-E. So just some cool applications. So in the interest of time, I'm going to quickly run through some more, applications here. It goes from media-related use cases to content generation use cases to generating 3D avatars and so on.
Here I have a shot of a basketball player that I want to roto out. So I'll just click a few times on him and Runway will automatically create a roto mask and track the subject through my scene. You can add more keyframes if necessary, feather your mask results, and export in various options like green screen background for keying, alpha matte, ProRes video with alpha, or a PNG sequence.
Okay, so this is just one application, Gen AI in media production, right? So gone are the days where you have to, spend more time editing each and everything, and it takes more hours and more days and so on. But there are many applications that are just making it so much more seamless. Just push of a button and you're able to do these things. So we briefly touched upon prompt engineering. So remember this, if anybody asks about prompt engineering, very basic level, think about it as you have a concept, you have an idea, you want to express it to an entity like ChatGPT. So the concept is a cowboy space dog, for instance. And you have descriptors where you're telling, make it look like a 2D model or a 3D painting, or make it have a background with cars, or make it have a background with the universe, and so on. And this element that you see, it's in the back end. So as users, consumers in general, you don't need to worry about this. But I just wanted you to know that there's a concept, there are descriptors that you plug in, and then there are these parameters that are helping you get all these cool things as output. And the combiner helps you also not just to, combine what you're prompting the machine or the engine to give you, but you could also blend that with, let's say, actually, I'm not going to say it. I'll show you the example. But remember this, prompt engineering is going to be super, super important. So to your earlier question, while there may be, certain roles not necessarily tagged as, let's say, a literature expert and so on, but literature is going to be really important. Art experts are going to be really important, because like prompt engineering doesn't need just an engineer to be writing those prompts and, creating those creative prompts. Needs an interdisciplinary approach. So I'll quickly jump to a few demos where I'll show you how the combining effect works. So these are some artist workflows. I'm happy to point out to more resources, but again, it's just showing you a multitude of ways generative AI is being applied. So you can change features, with respect to in painting. You can change the background. You can change how the eyes look. You can generate a face altogether if you'd like, or a cartoon altogether, and so on. So this is the mixing content aspect that I was talking about. Careful attention here. So what it's really showing is that, you don't just need to have one sort of media. You could have multiple media where you could say, make an ice cream home where, you have ice cream layers as different, floors of a house, for instance, and so on. There's just so many different things different partners are doing. It's just amazing. I mean, quite honestly, as we speak, there are many things, that are getting updated. So I might have new things to share with you in a few hours. So that's the rate at which things are moving. This is just another example from Stable Diffusion. Again, text to image, doing in painting, which is, changing the features within, changing the features within, a specific entity, or, out painting where you can change the background to be in forest, beach, for instance, and so on. And also you could add your own face if you'd like. All right, so I'll just skip through these things.
If I wanted to alter specific parts of an existing image, I can use the Erase and Replace tool, which will allow me to draw an area I want to alter and use a text prompt to alter it. I can change any part of my image as many times as I want and add my own ideas and style onto existing content.
This is just one use case, which one of our partners, Runway, has implemented. There are so many more. Check them out.
Infinite Image allows you to expand an existing input image by providing a text prompt, which will fill the frame with content-aware fill and seamlessly blend the two together. By using the same prompt, I'm able to generate outside edges of my frame and make it much more dynamic, all using generative AI. When I'm done, I can use the Erase tool to clean up parts of my expanded image and get rid of any artifacts that may have been generated along the way.
So all of these things would take many, many days and even, weeks and months, depending on the availability of people. But now they're able to, get it done faster. The same experts getting it done faster. So think of generative AI as helping people, do something faster or do something more seamlessly, not necessarily replacing. It's more so augmenting what they're doing. Again, there are more examples, but I'll just skip through because I know we were running.
Let's say I want to remove the artwork from.
Basically edit pieces of it very easily. This example is about generating digital avatars. And this is one of our colleagues who's generated an avatar that is a person that doesn't exist at all. We've had customers who are interested in building digital avatars for a banking solution and so on, and they just want an avatar to be the interface with their customers, for instance. They're all different partners who are building these solutions.
Hi, Jeremy. I know you're interested in the latest results from your favorite events at the World Games. The Germans won the cross-country yodeling event and Morocco took the win in teams juggling.
So all those language models that you saw, and then, the way you train those models, and especially with different languages, this individual that's being generated, this avatar that's being generated can speak Arabic or Hindi or some other language and so on. Again, some are very entertaining applications and some are very enterprisey applications as well. So choose what resonates with you. This is just one other example of one of our partners, Elara Systems. So a lot of children in general, how, generative AI is being used for things that can augment to do with, creating awareness with children, for instance. So there is one of our partners who works on social causes in general and, specific healthcare related topics, created an end-to-end video about how to create awareness for little children around sickle cell disease, for instance. So you can look them up, you can find the full video, and they're leveraging our generative AI tools, including our avatar generator, audio to face modules as well. So quick glimpse, if you're wondering what NVIDIA has been doing, we partner with a lot of these generative AI entities. They leverage our compute infrastructure to build on top and give you some exciting experiences, whether it's Grammarly, Jasper, Hugging Face, Bloom language model that I showed. We recently at our GTC announced, our offerings for businesses, which is, NEMO guardrails to ensure these models operate in a safe and secure way. We also have Picasso, which is on the image side of things, and then we have BioNeMo, which is on the life sciences side of things. So all of these run on something called as NVIDIA DGX Cloud, and we have multitude of startups who are leveraging NVIDIA's DGX Cloud to build their cool applications. So these are all enterprise B2B related applications. You're wondering what is NVIDIA researching? So these are just a list of publications that we have that we've published in 2023. We partner with all the other entities. Of course, it's important to build something, safe, secure, and, in all fairness. So it's important for us to partner with other industry researchers and take a look at it. If you're more interested, take a look at all the publications we have. While we have text generation and image generation, we are also looking more into the audio scene and music generation and direct video generation. I've seen some of this on LinkedIn already with video generation. It's not up to the mark yet, and which is where I was saying that, there's so much more potential. I don't think we've reached that. Again, some are just entertaining applications. Just laugh it off and scroll, or, some could be more, information. Okay, all right. So if you want to learn more, I'm happy to talk more, but we are actually running out of time. So quick 2 minutes. The challenges and considerations that are super, super important. Data is going to be critical because, all of these models in general are going to be trained on lots of unlabeled data. But also what's happening is entities like Reddit, for instance, Stack Overflow, all these folks have realized that, hey, OpenAI and all these entities are training on my free data that's been offered by our developers on platforms like what we have. So they've started charging a lot of these companies with, hey, if you want to use our data, if you want to, build your model based on all of the million words and million code lines that we have and so on, we're going to charge you. So that's where, the things are shifting. So obviously data is going to be very valuable. There's going to be a lot around control and how we do that. I don't think everything has been figured out together, and which includes IP ownership, IP attribution in general. And like you mentioned earlier, it's all about these language models need our help for them to be trained. And if you like pizza And if you don't like pineapple, and if you post it online, and hundreds of people post, I don't like pineapple on my pizza online, and one person says, I like pineapple on my pizza, the model is going to look at it, and it's all about data probability in general for these language models. Then it's likely going to say, well, pineapple with pizza, not so much, right? So it's up to us, together, like how we build these models and how we train them together. So it's, again, we want to build a conscious and secure language models, but that does come with a lot of, guardrails that we need to think of. Take a picture if you want to learn more about guardrails and how it works. If you want to build generative AI applications, there's something called as LangChain, which helps you with, which is an open source toolkit, which helps you with wrapping your experience at the application layer, and you can take your LLMs or anything into production. Again, we want to avoid toxicity. We want to avoid out-of-domain questions. So if you're asking about baking a cake, it shouldn't be responding about, cement mixture when you're asking about like egg mixture, for instance, batters and so on. So, you have to boundary it in a lot of ways. And it's our responsibility as, we build all of the companies and the individuals and the researchers and members in general to build these guardrails. Take a picture of this again if you want to try out a few tools. These are image generation related tools, but I actually noticed one of the companies has a prompt generator. So if you're struggling to even generate a prompt, there is a tool that will help you generate prompts. ChatGPT is one of them, but there is, I think, a prompt generator. I forget which company. So, you can take a look at them just to play with it. Text generation is another one. If you want to play with, question answer or summarization and so on, take a look at these. There are so many more. Again, I've just synthesized it to just a few of them. These are some resources. So if you're students and if you want to, build an engaging community around, anything AI, please, apply to our NVIDIA student network. We do have one of the ambassadors here. Want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am Abdullah Sham. I've been an NVIDIA Deep Learning Institute ambassador since March 2023, and it's been an exciting experience. We've actually held one of the workshops here, I think in November. Yeah, and the audience was very interactive, and it was a very fun session. So I advise you to make use of NVIDIA's resources. You have stuff like NGC and all the programs NVIDIA offers. They are very helpful and will help you gain quick experience and know what things are happening in the world.
Thank you, Abdullah.
Thank you, Amulya.
And thank you so much. And he is also our first NVIDIA ambassador in the town. So, please give him a round of applause. He's ran multiple workshops to many students and faculty, and he's been awesome. So thank you so much, Abdullah.
Thank you.
And just concluding, thank you so much. If you have any questions, please, feel free to stop by. I'm here for a bit more time. And in conclusion, generative AI is really having that AI inflection point. And there's going to be more and more importance for interdisciplinary, experiences and expertise. And remember, there are going to be new ways of pricing and offering services. I think that's going to be the next play, and it's going to be really, really important to know what is going to be shared versus owned IP, what are the different application layers, what type of data is needed, and how you control data. When I say control, in the sense that, it doesn't have to be, used for unknown or bad reasons and so on. So that's the type of control I was defining. So I think it's important to bring in, innovation and involvement across different functions and entities in general to, continue to advance in a seamless and also more sensible way, something like generative AI. So if you want to reach out to me, you can drop me a note, amulyav@nvidia.com. And with that, I end with one little demo, and that's it.
Let me welcome back Toy Jensen, an application we built with Omniverse Avatar. Remember, Toy Jensen is not recorded. He's completely real time. making eye contact, making conversation, and fully animated. Hey, TJ, I got a few questions for you. Sure, ask me anything. What is synthetic biology? Synthetic biology is about designing biological systems at multiple levels, from individual molecules up to whole cells and even multicellular assemblies like tissues and organs to perform specific functions. It is also known as symbio, which stands for synthetic life.
Okay, so that was just an example of how you can generate a 3D real-time entity or avatar, and it can answer any questions based on all of the things that the specific avatar is trained to answer for. It could be around education or AI and so on. So again, this was a toy model of our CEO, by the way, if I didn't really introduce him properly. But that said, I have time for just a couple more questions. Yes.
I want to ask you about the generative AI and its effect, because it's not mentioned in the challenges. Some of the technologies or the business will be affected, like the NFT. How this will be, how the generative AI will affect the NFT business?
Well, the thing is, NVIDIA doesn't really look at it as such, so I can't really comment in terms of what NVIDIA has to offer on the NFT side of things. But in general, the technologies that we have to offer in general can be utilized in the way you would like. And if that means, generating creative art and turning that into an NFT, so be it. But we don't have a product that's very specific to NFTs in general. But again, what I shared today is around the absolute basics of generative AI. But, what we spoke about today is also about, let's say, 4 to 5 key application areas. But there's just so much more. So next time we speak, maybe it's different. Maybe we'll have something specific to NFTs. Never know. Yeah. Thank you. Question, yes.
Does ChatGPT own the content it produces?
I don't think ChatGPT owns the content, because what happens is that ChatGPT is just, well, the way I think of it is that it's just a train station, right? So you're passing through it and you're asking that, hey, drop me to this location. So that's kind of how I see. But I know that, there's, with image synthesis especially, I think there's a lot of ongoing, I wouldn't say controversy, but like figuring out in terms of who owns what and how that gets interpreted.
A couple of weeks ago, someone created a cryptocurrency which capped at $77 million using ChatGPT with an initial investment of $69. So should OpenAI own a percentage of that?
No, today, I don't think they are, let's say, as smart as that to, have them monetize on those things. But I really think that they're trying to build an open so that, they can understand what use cases, can be more applicable and relevant. But if you notice that once they opened up the public model, they also added a premium version of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow they become some sort of a robo-advisor, for instance, right? So never know. Yeah. All right. Any last question?
You mentioned that the AI language collects its info from data that it finds on the web. And that's why we need to make sure that it has correct and appropriate data. Can AI be fed faulty data, like produced by propaganda or false news or false information? And another question, wouldn't it be more beneficial if like it was classified into section and each AI language is focused on a specific subject, so that it was able to compile all the data and understand it completely to better give the best solutions for each section, like section for medicinal and pharmaceuticals, another section for coding and programming, another section for engineering, and another for learning and development. Wouldn't that be more beneficial and efficient in terms of giving the data to the AI and selecting actually appropriate and more useful data?
So, okay, so tell me if I am answering this right. So you can always re-ask the question. So the thing is, think about if you're building a house, what type of materials would you use for to stay, in a windy area, for instance? Probably don't want to use something that's not strong enough, right? So it's about what you put in is what that model becomes. I would say, think of it in that analogy, that the data that train your model with, that's really, how it perceives it. So, we obviously have to do a lot of due diligence, and which is why a lot of the efforts are still, back involved. So for instance, we to do certain things, the model and that reward system is a system all about, again, I'm going to repeat this example, but again, the way pineapple is good on pizza, and you feed that due diligence that needs to be done, and like guardrails are being set not just by companies like NVIDIA, startups who are going to start building that as a solution and so on. That answer part of your question, but I think there's a second part of your question. If you could repeat.
Wouldn't it be more beneficial if AI models were more specific instead of browsing hundreds and thousands of data? If it focus on a specific field, and we could provide multiple AI languages for specific fields.
Yes, so we already have these domain-specific entities as well. So AI systems that help with healthcare, life sciences, for instance, whether it's architecture related and so on. So there are domain-specific models. There are domain-specific systems that a lot of companies, including and developers, build their own applications and API. That's already existent. What is happening now is there is the artificial general intelligence aspect, and that's where people are like, well, this is great. I can do health. That's awesome. There are where I generate a marketing copy for my marketing team, a computer vision application, but at the same time, I'm using the same language model to generate a question and answer, like an FAQ, right? Frequently asked question document for my robotics team. So that's where artificial general, one or the other, they're all going already have domain-specific models and systems, up and running from different companies and also many open source entities. Awesome, thank you. That's it. Yeah. Oh, one more. Yeah, I'm ready as long as you're okay.
Thank you very much for coming and for such insightful talk. So my question was like a bit futuristic. So we're now talking about AI, but I also wanted to think of blockchain, other emerging technologies, IoT. Do you think that there might be a way of integrating actually those emerging technologies together?
So they have to converge, right? That's how technologies are built, right? So for instance, we had a cell phone, right? At some point, someone built a cell phone, Nokia or whoever, and then now we have so many cell phone towers, but then on your cell phone, you're able to watch movies, you're able to text somebody, you're able to do so many things. So yes, we want to get there where, all of these are interoperable. There are a lot of these systems already set up, especially on the IoT side of things. I think blockchain is still, I think people are really figuring out what is blockchain. I really think that's where it is. But maybe for all, there might be another time where we're not talking about generative AI, we're talking about blockchain. So yes, everything needs to converge. A lot of convergence is already happening on the embedded system side of things. But that said, I really think that there's so much of straight research happening. Probably take about 1,000 research but specifically 2 to 3 or convergence to shape across these domains?
So the main focus for now would be on IA. That's the most important technology from your perspective.
Yes. So think of generative AI as a part of artificial intelligence. Like it's just that there's been research done for a really, really long time already. It's just that, Chat GPT took off and everybody was like, wow, what is this? And now people are like, okay, now my system can do, okay, there's more we could do. I don't know if you use like tools like Grammarly or Try It On AI. Again, some are for convenience, some are for entertainment, some are for businesses. General, like there's just so much happening. So I hope, like you were able to concepts from today, and have more questions, you can, reach out to me at nvidia.com. Thank you. Ooh, someone was sitting there, huh? Okay. All right. Thank you, Noor.
Thank you so much, Amulya. We couldn't thank you enough for being here today, and thank you everyone for attending. We loved having you. So it's a lucky week for us. If you've enjoyed today's session, then we have a fintech focused session tomorrow, featuring Visa's Senior Vice President, Head of Products, Partnerships and Digital Solutions for Central Europe, Middle East and Africa, Otto Williams, and you're all invited. So if you'd like to join us, you should get an email with the invitation link and you can register there, and we'd love to see you. We hope that you've enjoyed today's session. Please do connect with Amulya. I'm assuming she's going to get a lot of emails, but I think you can also find her on LinkedIn. And we're hoping we can have Amulya back soon. And to hear from all of you, our applications are also open for the accelerator cycle. So if you are interested in building a startup, especially with an AI aspect, please do reach out to anyone from the team or just go to our website and you can easily register there. See you soon. Thank you.